So before the rotation, our bounds was 5,376, and we had 768 as our width. The content size was 21,504, and our offset was 5,376. And after the rotation, our bounds X is actually the same as what it was before. The bounds dimensions of the actual view have switched because we've gone through the rotation. There's a slight 20 pixel difference to the status bar. The interesting thing here is the content size hasn't changed, and the content offset also hasn't changed. So what's actually happened is that the rotations occurred, but the scroll view still thinks the content offset that we'd set when the application originally started is still the same size. Right? But what we actually really want is that when we rotate, we actually want to slightly adjust the content so that its pages grow as well. So the problem is that the offset is actually not on boundary, but the content offset is not on the boundary of the page, and there's far too much, because we've actually, in this case, we've increased the width of the bounds. The actual, the size of the pages has increased. So that's what causes when you get it and you move it a little bit, it flickers, because it's taking the current page index offset and then trying to work out with wrong numbers what's going on, what's actually, which is actually the problem. So the fix to that, which is something that came after lots of log statements and printing stuff out. Here, when we actually are inside the animation transition, we'll animate rotation to interface orientation. We actually make sure that we set the content size. So when this callback actually gets called, the bounds has been changed, and so we actually know the new orientation. So this helper method I've got here, calculate current content size, will recalculate the content size based on us having landscape or portrait images. And then we recalculate the offset based on the current index and the new page size. So this makes sure that the pages then line up. There's actually another little interesting thing here. There's a callback that we've got on ScrollView did scroll, and that calls the tile photos callback. Tile photos is what actually does the layout by calculating the first and last pages that are needed. That's what it's doing, the recycle queue. That actually gets invoked when you do a rotation, because the scroll view is considered to have moved a little bit. So we need to actually guard that to make sure that during a rotation we don't lay out the tiles. We do that in the animation transition and not actually in the rotation as part of the normal scroll view callback. So with that, we'll see that now we get rotation, and we can scroll back, forward. Let's go a little bit further on. Rotate and then rotate back and forward. And it's all hanging together. So that's really cool. So last final couple of tasks. We don't actually have the navigation bar. So to add the navigation bar back in, we just have a tap. So when you tap on the actual scroll view itself, we'll just call back on the navigation controllers, set navigation bar hidden, and just toggle that from its current state. So this is where I'm starting to get excited. I've almost got this part of it nailed. Rotation's working great. It's all looking really good. Go through and then tap. Bang. The navigation bar is actually affecting the subviews of the actual scroll view, and that's a pain in the ass. So a lot of Googling, a lot of Stack Overflow checking actually showed that the only way to stop that from occurring is just to make sure in that same method, on tap to scroll, set the content offset back to what it should be, content offset X, which is the same page boundary, but the Y value being 0. So with that, it's the final update. We'll run this one back on the device. It should be a little more better. So we've got our scrolling happening, all nice and good. Tap through, so then we can slide through. on the device. That's all nice and seamless. Rotation. Working back as well. Rotated. Swipe. And rotate back. And then tap. Bar comes back and we go back. So all starting to hang together.
The key colour's changed though.
Pardon?
The key colour changed. It started off with grey and then
Oh, at the top, yeah, it did, yeah. Okay, so that's actually really all I've had prepared to sort of show you guys. It was a bit of a quick whirlwind trip through ScrollView. I know the pizza, we can smell it from here. It's getting cold. No one likes to have cold pizza. So feel free to come up to the pub afterwards and ask any questions if you've got some. And the idea of this is to publish it as a series of blog posts and some realistic code information so that you could get used to it. When I started building this other app, I really wish that there was something out there that would give me a really good reference to actually using UIScrollView in an app all the way through to something like as complete as the Photos app. And there wasn't really something out there, so if that's something that I can get by helping everybody else after going through that journey, then that'll certainly be well worth it. So thanks for your time, and see you at the pub later.